So earlier in the class, we have completed how to interact with the databases in servlets. So we have created a database related data access objects, and using these data access objects, we can able to generate different kinds of queries, and these queries will be sent over to the database, which is MySQL, and from there, so once execution of the queries have been happened, so then the result set will be written back to servlet, and these result sets will be read and stored into the collection framework, which is array list, and the array list will be sent over to web page itself. So this scenario we have seen in previous class. Now, so we are going to implement. So that is called as servlet reading servlet initialization parameter. Servlet initialization. Like that. How to send the requests and how to read the request parameters from the servlet request HTTP servlet request object. Okay, so which is available in either do get or do post methods. Okay, so now, so we are going to see initialization parameters. Initialization parameters are generally used or defined in web.xml. Okay, so web.xml, which is a deployment descriptor. So let me describe here. So implement program XML using annotations concept. All web.xml code is by default included into the servlet itself, so that no need of generating the web.xml here. So but the point is here, so the initialization parameters is generally used for setting any parameters used for configuring servlets. Okay, these initiators are to be set unavailable when servlets are going to be initialized. In the servlet table, so we have one there is a servlet initialization state. So we have seen servlet life cycle. In servlet, we have one state for the servlet is that is called as the servlet initialization state. Initialized by the Tomcat web server. So whenever the servlet is going to be initialized, so that is for ready to ready for the availability, ready to the clients, so then the servlet will be initialized. Okay, so at the time of the servlet is initialized by Tomcat the web server, so then any kind of parameters if we want to set, then those kind of parameters are called as initialization parameters. On these initialization parameters, we have to define in web.xml. So we set the initialization parameters in the web.xml. So from this web.xml, so in our servlet code, we can read these initialization parameters. The initialization parameters init method. So far we have seen code in get most of this here method also be there in the servlet, that is called as init method. So which is related to the method for servlet initialization. So something is going to be initialized in next in then that method will be executed. That we can able to get. Okay, so these initialization parameters will be sent to the program by the Tomcat web server using the object called servlet config. From the web.xml, so to the init method of the servlet using servlet config. So using this servlet config method, we can able to read all information, the information about configuration different for configuration parameters servlet, like servlet. Okay. Welcome files of the servlet. All information we can able to get from the servlet config, but most of the time, so we are using the servlet config object for reading the initialization parameters inside the init method. Okay, so this is the way we have to use and read the initialization parameters in the servlets. Okay, so most frequently, so we are using these initialization parameters for database related parameters. So generally, database establishment of the connection with the database contains different kinds of parameters like URL, you can specify, and user name, yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
So here, generally, dynamic web module version is 3.0. By default, 3.0 servlet version we are using. So since we are using 3.0 servlet version, so that annotation information is included in the servlets. Okay, so but for initialization parameters, we need to generate web.xml so instead of annotations. So that dynamic web module version should be 2.5. So we have to go downward versions of the servlet. Okay, and as usually next and finish. So generate web.xml deployment descriptor, the checkbox should be, and then click on finish. So init project is created. So inside this, I just create one servlet for this new package. This package, under this, create a new class, init params class. Okay. So whenever we have created a servlet params deployment descriptor. So this is a deployment descriptor, which is the second option inside the project title. If you click on deployment descriptors, it will open the web.xml file. So here inside the web.xml, if you observe, there is a servlet tag with our servlet name. So our servlet name is servlet class is servlets package dot. Okay. So for this class, alias name in the web.xml is created by default. It is init. So for this servlet, we can able to create initialization parameters using the web.xml related tags. Okay. So for defining the initialization parameters, so I can copy that initialization parameter so that it is easy to the things. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. So this is entire creating parameters here. Inside the electric, this is a tag and this is a closing servlet tag. So inside the servlet tag, we can able to create initialization parameters. So this servlet tag is created for each and every servlet that we created in the project. So I have created init params.java, which is a servlet. So for this, one servlet tag is defined with servlet name, servlet class. Suppose if we create a new servlet again inside the project, so the new servlet tag is there in the web.xml. So for each servlet, there will be having a servlet tag corresponding to the servlet in the web.xml. So to which servlets you define the initialization parameters. So to that servlet, inside the servlet corresponding servlet tag, so you can define the initialization parameters. So syntax for initialization parameters like this. So init param is a tag open, and inside this init param name and param value. So this param name is name of the parameter, just like variable name, and param value is value of that variable name. So here I'm using user1 as a parameter name and pass1 is a parameter value. So here parameter name, second parameter I'm defining here. So init param, parameter name and parameter value. So username and as well as user2 as a parameter name and parameter value password2. So like this I define two different parameters using the tag init param with name of the parameter and value of the parameter defined in the servlet. Okay, so this init params inside the init params we can able to access these init parameters here. So for this I just go to once parameters have been defined, just close this .xml and go to the program. So here for reading the initialization parameters we need to have the object called servlet config. So servlet config so we have to import Java Excel. So here for getting config object, server config object, so we have to define init method, public void init server config. So config object is available inside the init method, so that we define init method. So this config object is given by web container, servlet web container itself. Okay, so since this is a local variable inside the init method, so that we cannot able to access this config object in any other methods inside the servlet class. So that I copied this config object into global class variable, that is a CFG. So CFG I have defined in a class section, servlet config CFG equal to null. So that now this local variable config is available in the class variable which is CFG. So using CFG we can able to access inside any other methods. Okay, so now as usually, so we have to create the response dot set content type text slash HTML, and then so create print writer out equal to response dot get writer, and then import relevant package for print writer, which is IO, and then so now we have to see read the configuration parameters from the CFG. We have CFG dot get init parameter names, which returns us enumeration to get parameter names. So similar to the way how we are using get parameter from the servlet request object, so we have the method called get init parameter name, get init parameter names. Okay, so get init parameter names, which returns as enumeration of all the names of the init parameters. So how many we have defined init parameters? Okay, if you go to deployment descriptor, so we have defined two different init parameter names. Okay, one is user1 and another one is user2. So these two user details will come as enumeration object. So just iterate this enumeration object to read the names and values of the init parameters. So how to iterate? So while enumeration dot has more elements, next string init name, initialization parameter name equal to en dot next element dot init value equal to cfg dot get init parameter of, here we have to pass name of the parameter. Name of the parameter is init name. I just bring this details of initialization parameters over the web page. Program name we are tag, and then parameter value init. I am running this program. I have saved. I am running this program. Yeah. So we got parameter name user2, parameter value pass2, and parameter name user1 and parameter value pass1. So these user pass details are coming from web.xml as initialization parameters, which will be available in the servlet from config object. So using this config object, so we can able to call get init parameter of initialization parameter name. Okay, so this is the way we can able to read initialization parameter names and as well as values from the web.xml file. Okay, so